Brent Bertrand, Dynamic Systems Inc., mechanical contractor, to get his insight on what they're seeing on the ground.
Okay, so I wanted to talk about labor because that is a lot of significance. As Blair mentioned, the number one there shows the spike, and the majority of that is in Texas. So our labor's up dramatically since the beginning of the year, and that's due to a big start. Our mix of work goes across commercial, high-tech, healthcare, data centers, all that stuff. We've seen a lot of stuff really happening this year in high tech as the computer chip market manufacturing appears to be and hopefully will be coming back to the U.S. so we're not dependent upon others for that. And that's where a lot of that increase is in this almost 600 people in our workforce since January. And the majority of that is in Texas. 75% of our workload is in Texas. We average about 3 million man hours a year, and this year we're gonna go past 4 million. So things are very robust in the markets that we're talking about. And the next point, number two, the skilled trades, which are plumbers, pipe fitters, sheet metal workers, even sheet metal workers with significant exhaust system experience for the manufacturing sectors, but needing certified welders, medical gas certified people. The supplies are running tough right now because the skilled workers are being snatched up quickly. So going to number three, this is one of the reasons there are workers that chase the overtime markets, shift premiums, double time. We're working 94,000 man hours a week, and it's amazing how much overtime and double time is included in those numbers. A portion of that is the need for the significant schedule demands, but for a traveler, they've got to work overtime so they can pay for themselves a place to stay and be able to be on the road. But those are a big draw to projects. So I would say the majority of any project that we are bidding right now has to have some sort of premium time, which is not what we prefer for owners to hear that, because we're not chasing that. It's just what the market is driving to get the skilled labor that you need. So to go to number four, there's some significant projects in Texas that are drawing this labor. I think everybody's probably heard about the Tesla plant in Austin. If you drive by there, it is 4 million square feet of mass, whatever you want to call it. I mean, cranes everywhere, men everywhere, people coming from all over to work there. Samsung is another big draw. And then back to the computer chip markets with Texas Instruments in Richardson's now and Sherman in the future, and then some projects in San Antonio that are big data centers as well as semiconductors. There's also a lot of pharmaceutical coming to Texas. I think that's very good for our construction economy here. I listed Austin, College Station, and Houston is where we're working, but Dallas is also has some very significant projects that on the mechanical and process side, 60 million a project was a very significant project. And then to go to number six, the mega data centers will continue to be a big draw on skilled labor. Those are sometimes in the city, a lot of times remote outside of big cities where there's adequate power supply for them to operate, but very significant in the construction industry as far as keeping workers. I mention all this because I assume a lot of the people on this call are maybe focused in the institutional commercial side, and there's just a big labor draw in all the 1 through 5 and now to go to 7 that's going to affect labor markets. So it's some unprecedented stuff in the bold and underlined. It says this is unheard of in the last 2 decades, but they are paying per diems for guys to just come work in the skilled trades on their projects, which includes HVAC, plumbing, electrical, controls, and it's Tesla and Samsung are the ones that are doing it now. And so it's really challenging. We're getting through it, but to pay someone in addition to overtime and all the other stuff, $2,000 to $3,000 a month, you know, with their commitment to stay on the project, is unheard of. And I know that doesn't happen in the commercial markets. So I thought it was something significant to mention. So there is a lot of data out there. I tried to make this simplistic. So with the copper, you can see, and you know, these graphs are from 19 to 21. So we're just talking a 2-year span here. But in all of these graphs, you can see from the start of the pandemic last year in March, how things have just skyrocketed. And then now they're starting to level out somewhat now that workers are finally coming back, but there's still some concern. So to go through copper, the historical high that you see there in 4.74, that's probably March to April, but it's never been that high since they've been tracking it. I was just talking to our purchasing director, and it was never that high, but copper's leveling out, just kind of plus or minus, and hopefully a downward trend towards the end of the year. That would be the same with PVC, the upper right-hand graph. Resins are coming back into supply, which was the thing that was really hurting those manufacturers. I mean, they wouldn't even make some sizes. Now the major manufacturers like Charlotte, they're back to making every size, and it has a downward trend towards the end of the year to where all those supplies will be more readily available and at a much more palatable price. For steel, those are coils. So our coil price a year ago was about 65 cents a pound on the average between gauges. Now it's right at $1.05. DSI probably does on average 4 to 5 million, sometimes 6 million pounds per year. And that's on the large size of a contractor, because we don't usually sell to the outside market. And we were being limited on the number of 10,000 pound coils that we could buy. That has never happened. We could buy 1 million pounds if we wanted to and arrange for storage, but we only had coils to last for about a 4-month run, which is scary when you've got commitments and want to maintain schedules. Now we've been able to secure most sizes to finish out 21 and into 22, but 65 cent to $1.05 now, that's a crazy increase. So we're trying to minimize that. We're trying to buy at the right times, and that should level out as we start 22. I mean, a big thing is just getting workers back into the factories and off the couch, as well as being able to obtain the raw materials. Like copper, there were some mines that had strikes over in other countries and outages. And all of these things on these graphs also affect equipment. It's really important, I think, for owners. It's just construction 101, plan ahead. And if you need Temtrol units for a lab, they're 22 to 24 weeks right now. That's tough. You would need to obtain someone to pre-purchase those and manage that, watch the factory progress. I wouldn't take them at their word. I'd go check progress.